We're back. We're here. We are ready to go for our episode. Things are looking good. Mandy, happy reentry day, as you say. How was your holiday weekend?
It was awesome. But I will talk about the holiday weekend, but I want to just commiserate right now with anybody experiencing reentry. Reentry is tough. A lot of people have been off since Wednesday, and then all of a sudden it's Monday. It's the last month of the year. When we left our offices last week, it was November. We've come back. It's December, and it's the last month of the year, and it's not even we don't have any warning. It just happened. So, amen to those of you re-entering today. We got this. We're gonna crush the next 30 days or so, and just be patient with yourself. Give yourself a little grace because everything's a little slow today. But Thanksgiving was great. We went to Newport Beach, Amani,
Oh, okay. What was the
and
Newport Beach? I like
well,
it.
what was like my aunt wanted to go to the Notre Dame USC game because she went to Notre Dame, and we didn't quite want to be in LA for the holiday. And some of us are in San Diego, and the rest of us are in Ohio. And so everybody just met in Newport Beach. We rented a house on the peninsula, on Balboa Peninsula.
Nice.
And it was 8 of us, and it was dog friendly. So I got to bring Luca with me, and she did such a good job, but everything was really walkable. And Amani, you and I, we've been to Newport Beach before for different events, and I have never spent that much time up there, and it was spectacular. We went on a Duffy boat. I had never been on a Duffy boat. Funny
Nice.
story. I didn't know you could drive your own Duffy boat. So Scoot, my husband, was like very proud of being the Duffy boat captain. And there's so many vessels on the water, not just Duffy boats. There were car ferries, there were speedboats, there were yachts, there were catamarans. It got really busy at some point, and you're just this little Duffy boat for 8 people. And basically, they tell you when they rent the boat, like
Right.
you have no rights. Like everybody has the right of way, so you're just lucky to not capsize and like get stuck in somebody's wake, basically. So, it was towards the end, there was a lot of traffic. We were looking out, we were yelling like ferry, and like it was hairy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was exciting. We went to the Lido House
Mm, yeah.
rooftop for a drink, which was beautiful. We watched the sunset there. That as we were leaving, there was a gazebo, and my husband was like, "Okay, before we leave, we have to have a dance party." So I put into Apple Music, play Ohio dance party song, whatever it was, and a song came up, and we just ran around in circles in the gazebo, and then we
Okay.
like exit. We made a big exit. It was amazing. So it
Okay.
was
What
fun.
was the song? What was the song I was playing?
It was I don't know the name of it. It was like "Wake Me Up When It's All
Oh,
Over."
okay.
That
Yeah.
one.
So
La la la.
Avicii,
Oh,
Avicii and Aloe Black. Yeah.
well, whoever those people are, it was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was it was
You're
fun.
asking a DJ here, so I got to know a little bit, especially when you sing a little verse. So
Yeah,
very
DJ
good.
knows. Tell me about your
Okay.
weekend, Amani.
My weekend was a combination of a nice dinner with my friend's family and grading papers and finishing book edits. Yes. Yes, that was it.
Mm.
So, I kind of use this to catch up on. I have this project I give my students, which I love. And it's called a music supervision, music sync project, where they have to take 4 scenes from a movie, TV show, or it can be like a podcast interview, and they have to place music underneath it. So they're actually performing the responsibilities of a music supervisor. So they're
Mm.
actually syncing the music. They have to pick the song, edit the video, put it underneath, and then come onto camera and explain why they chose the specific song. And so I was watching all of their projects this whole weekend, and they did some really good jobs. And they picked, if you could get, it was so funny, the most popular movie. Just take 3 guesses in terms of the most popular movie they might have picked. I mean, it's really random, but think about all the movies they could have picked, and this movie came up more than any other movie.
Pulp Fiction.
No, good guess though. Good guess. No, to try again. I guess I should
Um,
give you a clue. It came out in the.
Titanic. Oh,
Nope, you're getting closer though. You're getting closer.
okay.
It's like one of those historic, like legendary movies, and they kept picking this movie. I
Star
was so
Wars.
so surprised. No, Forrest Gump. They picked Forrest Gump,
Oh,
and it was so
interesting.
so interesting how they put the different music underneath it. It's so funny that they're probably between 21 and 25 or 26, but that movie still resonates for them, even though it came out before they were born.
Did they get to pick the movie and the songs, or you picked the movie and they all did the songs?
They pick whatever they want.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. So I was watching that, and that was because it takes, each one has to be 10 minutes. So if you take 10 minutes times 32 students,
Oh,
that's
jeez.
that's a good amount of time. So every day I'd watch 6 or 7 and get through them. But yeah, it's good.
Were you eating your leftover sweet potato pie where you were watching your
So
340
this
minutes?
year I didn't. I'm saving sweet potato pie for Christmas. This was just crab
Oh,
cakes I prepared, and then
you did.
cookies and Rice Krispie treats. So I
Oh, you
prepared
did
those.
you did Rice Krispie treats round
That's a
2
new.
because you
That's a
did that
new. That's a
last
new.
week.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. That's a new in my belt buckle. So yes, I got that down now.
Oh, all those lady closers. You
Yeah.
you
The
really got
closers. That's right, baby.
you
The
got a
closers.
lot
Yes.
of closers. Well, speaking of closers, I feel like we should get to our closer
Yes.
here, who I'm so excited. I met Jordan through our digital hospitality, our Rising Tides networking community that we have. And he is such a great storyteller. Every time he talks, there's just so much energy and vision there. And so when he said yes to being on the show, I was so excited. We've got Jordan Silverman on the show today. He's the CEO of Starfish, where he empowers teams to be financially smarter. He's a multi-business founder. He's founded a lot. He's started his entrepreneurial journey in college. So I'm super interested in asking him a bunch of questions about that. And he's a dad. He's a dad of a 2-year-old and a U of Michigan fan. So Jordan, welcome to the
All
show.
right. Round of
Hey,
applause.
Mandi. Hey, Amani. How
Hi.
are you guys? Thanks for having me.
We're doing well. So we want to know. Well, I've got questions. Manny's got questions, but we first have to ask: why did you decide to name your company after a starfish?
Yeah. So, our goal at Starfish is to help small businesses make more money. Every single business owner knows that costs add up and running a profit is really hard. I know that as a business owner. I've spent the last 15 years working with small business owners. It's really hard to run a good, profitable business. So, the reason we named the company Starfish is because starfish lose their limbs when they get stressed, and then they grow their limbs back when they get de stressed. Our goal as a company is to help our customers, our clients, de stress and grow back their profits. And that's what we do every day.
Ooh,
Okay,
that's good,
okay.
Jordan. That's very thought out business title. I wanna pause on Starfish for a minute. I promise we'll get back to it. But as somebody from Ohio,
Sorry.
as an Ohio State fan, this weekend's game was a little bonkers. So I just wanted to be the better person and congratulate you on your big win this weekend. It pains me to say it, but a win's a win. And as a fan, I just wanted to hear your experience of watching that crazy game this weekend.
I hope that Ryan Day is the Ohio State coach forever. The best way I can say it. Best case scenario is that he stays on forever and we continue to have this fun rivalry. Listen, I turned before right before the game started. I turned to my wife and I said, "This is not going to be fun." And then it was pretty fun. So
Yeah,
I got no complaints. It was a great game for me.
good. Very good. And then
Yeah.
just to give the audience some context, if you didn't watch the game, there was a flag planting issue at the very end of the game. So Jordan, I don't know, do you want to share that with everybody what the situation was?
I'm a big Michigan fan. I went to the national championship last year when we won.
Nice.
Michigan has not had a good season this year. This was our Super Bowl. We celebrated, and Ohio State did not like that celebration. Uh, there's a long time in the football game to battle it out, but it was sad that it came to that at the end. We should have just walked away as winners. Ohio State should have just walked away as not winners. I'll put it nicely.
You could say losers. We lost.
Loser.
You could say losers. Anyways.
Both both schools were fined $100,000. By the way.
Oh, they
Yep.
were?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Well, that's good. You do have to take some sort of action on
Yeah.
that. So I'm glad. I want to hang here while we're in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I want to hang here. I want to take us back to 2010 in Ann Arbor. You're a college student. You founded your first company in college. You founded Star Toilet Paper. Star is kind of a thing
Yes.
for you. So What was Star toilet paper? What was the problem that it solved at the time, and what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah. So really simple. What we did at Star Toilet Paper is we did advertising in public bathrooms, printed
Mhm.
toilet paper, printed paper towels, ads in
Oh,
dispensers. We basically built up regional networks around different college campuses and gave advertisers an opportunity to put themselves in front of college students, bars, restaurants, apartment buildings, all of that. I ran the company with my younger brother for 5 years,
Mhm.
and I learned a tremendous amount. That was my first startup experience. I'll never forget my senior year was sitting in the library studying for the LSAT, and I was like, I don't want to do this.
Mhm.
That's when I just went all in on being an entrepreneur, and I haven't looked back over the last 15 years, but that was my first door-to-door sales, first cold calling, first investors. All of my firsts I learned from that business, and it was amazing.
That's awesome. What's
Yeah,
something that you take with you from that experience that you might apply every day or that you harken back to and you're like, "Gosh, I'm so glad this started for me way back when."
yeah. Um, I'll never forget. We were doing printed toilet paper as the first product, and I chose like my 8 favorite businesses in Ann Arbor. I was like, all right, like these are the 8 companies I'm going to get to advertise. And I basically went out, went door to door, made up like sales folders, and I went door to door and I visited all 8 of them. And I think 4 of them told me no, 3 people weren't there, and 1 person said maybe.
Hmm.
So I went into the day thinking, I'm going to come back to my apartment and have 8 advertisers.
Mm.
And I came back with 1 maybe and 7 pretty much no's.
Mhm.
So I think the first thing it taught me was A, become a better storyteller, and B, sales is a numbers game, whether you like it or not.
yeah, yeah.
Truth.
Now, how did you go from being a philosophy major to working in the startup world?
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh, Honestly, I had no idea what I wanted to do going into college. My freshman year, I took a philosophy class and I loved it. And I said, all right, like, I'm going to just do more of this. I could take any other classes I wanted. I took a bunch of business classes, I took a bunch of econ classes. But at the end of the day, I knew college was short and I knew it was more about the experience and what I could teach myself. So I just chose a major that I enjoyed versus something that was
Mm.
going to feel like real school.
Good
What
answer.
it taught me though was really simple. My favorite part of philosophy was the logic courses, and it taught me how to think logically. And I know that sounds so simple, but my friends were writing papers that had to be a minimum of 10 pages. Almost every paper I wrote in college was a maximum of 1 or 2 pages because it was
Oh,
all about how do you get all of your thoughts, all of your ideas into the simplest, most condensed form as possible.
interesting. Okay, I like that maximum of 2 pages. I have to keep that in mind. Also, with all of your experience, I want to ask you about some lessons you've learned. Like, what do you think if you were going to meet with like a person who was just about to start their own business? What are the 3 pieces of advice you would give them so that they could hit the ground running?
First off, it's so much harder than you think it's going to be.
Mm.
Make sure you're ready for it. And like, I can't stress that enough. You have to make sure you're ready. That's mentally, physically, financially, everything in your life is going to get turned upside down. It's so much harder than you think it's going to be. So that's number one. Second thing I'll say is make sure from a personal standpoint, you have a good foundation. I'm very lucky where my wife, my family, my friends are all extremely supportive. And then the third and final thing I would say is don't try to do it alone. Both of my businesses, I've had a co-founder that I can lean on, has a different set of skills than I do. So really simple. Number one, be ready. Number two, have a support system. And number three, find someone to partner with because it's going to be a lot more fun.
Love it. Yes, yes. Mandy, back over to you.
Well, I have a question I prepared, but you just said something that sparked something for me. How do you ready yourself? You said be sure you're ready. You talked about mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that. Like for you as a business owner, how do you ready yourself?
First thing I did when I started Starfish was basically like built out the financial plan. Like how quickly do I think we're going to grow? What's it going to look like? All of that. Some things we've far exceeded my expectations. Other things are significantly slower. So the first thing I'll say is, just from a financial standpoint, make sure you're ready to take the financial impact of being a startup entrepreneur for double the time you think it's going to take.
Mm,
So I think that's the first thing.
yeah.
Second thing I'll say is, there's no work-life balance anymore. And I don't mind that because I love work, but you need to be ready for that. And I work a 9 to 5 job because we have a nanny in school, 9 to 5. But that means I do a couple hours before work and then a couple hours after work. So I would say, just like, A, make sure you're ready financially, and then B, make sure you're ready mentally, because as I was talking about in my Star Toilet Paper sales example, you're gonna get told no a lot, and you just need to be there. And then the only other thing I'll say is, when I ran my first business, when I was running Star Toilet Paper, we were really focused on the solution and not the problem. And for Starfish, we're trying to do a lot better job of not really caring what the solution looks like, but focusing entirely on the problem. And for us, the problem is businesses are failing every single day because they're not making enough profit, because they don't have the cash flow to sustain themselves. And we can actually make a huge impact on that. How we go about it is a lot less important than the impact we make.
So let's hang here. I'm so glad you transitioned this. So let's hang here now that we're at Starfish. What Give us a couple examples of how you are helping businesses. Like what specifically, if I'm a small, well, I'm a small business owner and I've got problems, right? Like how are you helping small businesses?
When I was running Star Toilet Paper, this is 15 years ago, most small businesses were just starting to build out their websites, right? Like e-commerce was not a thing. POS is not a thing. It was websites. That was the big thing 15 years ago. And I remember that my bookkeeper, I had an external bookkeeper, he handed me QuickBooks Desktop on a CD and said, "This is how you'll get your reports every month." And you fast forward to today, that's the exact same thing that most business owners get. Now you have POS. I mean, look at us. We're talking in 3 different places, streaming across all these different platforms. There's e-commerce, there's inventory, there's AI, there's marketing, but the actual financial analysis is the exact same. You probably have an external bookkeeper for your small business. At the end of each month, they send you 10, 15, 20 pages of reports and say, "Here's your November report," and that's it. So the first thing that we're trying to do is completely change that. Instead of looking at 15, 20 pages or not looking at it all, what we do here at Starfish is we tell you every single day, every single week, every single month, what are the 1, 2, or 3 things that you need to go do to drive an impact. If you're a restaurant, that might be increasing prices or changing hours or decreasing labor during non-peak hours. If you are a lawyer, it might be about, how do we help you with utilities and rent and things like that. So we're really looking at every single line of the P&L. To give you some specific examples, we have a customer. They are 5 locations and they wanted to start franchising their business. So they had 5 corporate locations. One of the main ways restaurants grow is through franchising. They were having a hard time franchising the business because their food cost was too high. So their food cost was at 35, 36% consistently. But one of the 5 locations is at 30%, and they could
Mm,
not figure out how to get everyone to that level. So what we did was, first and foremost, did a deep dive into the P&L, figured out what that location was doing better, and then on a weekly and monthly basis, we measured and benchmarked the other managers against this top performing manager until we eventually, over 6 months, got everyone down to a 30% food cost.
mm.
And that enables them, A, to save $30,000 per month in food cost, but B, to also start scaling, because now it's significantly more attractive for a franchisee at a 30% food cost than a 35% food cost. So that's a big macro example of how we can help. Another really small example is, we helped a consultant figure out that she was paying for software that she no longer uses.
Mm.
So it's both big and small. But the way that I look at it is, there are a lot of lines in a P&L, And we do not want people to go line by line, month by month, year by year looking at that.
Yeah,
We can just automate that and do that all for you.
that's
What
awesome.
what about for people who are solopreneurs? Very similar to like, well, myself, Mandy has a team, but still we're kind of on the smaller side. What's some low-hanging fruit for us to really be able to identify where we could be like getting more profit and revenue to the bottom line that we might take for granted or just forget about?
I'm a big baseball fan. And there's a saying in baseball that you play to the stats in the back of your baseball card. And the way that I would say that for you, Amani, is if you have a really profitable month, there's no reason every month can't be that profitable. So our responsibility is to show you what you did that month that worked well. Sometimes it's revenue, sometimes it's cost, and then help you understand what you need to do every month to follow that. I would say it's less about like these are the low hanging fruits, and we really try to take it at every business is unique, and this is what they can do. Now, of course, in some industries, there's really big things, but in most industries, the big things are labor, and we're not trying to tell you go cut your labor because, of course, Mandy can be more profitable if she goes and cuts a person, but that's not the right way to go about it. It's really about A, looking for inefficiencies in your spending specifically, and then B, benchmarking you against other people in your industry. One of the things we hear over and over again is, oh, I can't lower my rent. Oh, I can't do anything about utilities. That's not true. Like we see customers every single week, every single month, lowering those expenses. Oh, I can't do anything about my credit card fees. You probably can, but you might be able to depending on what kind of business you're doing and what kind of volume you are. So like the three of us, if we're using Stripe, we're not doing enough volume that they care, right? But if you're a restaurant doing significant volume, or you're a lawyer and you want to bill, there's a huge difference between credit cards and ACH.
What I really love about what you're saying is the mindset of looking at your numbers, looking at your processes, looking at what you do on a more frequent basis, and not just analyzing it, but taking action, actually doing something about it. Because how many, Amani, how many entrepreneurs do you know that 6 or 8 months will go by and they're like, wow, we had a lot come in July. How do I do more of that? Well, 6 or 8 months went by. But if you're staying close to it once a month and you actually have experts analyzing it, or just a fresh set of eyes, right? Most entrepreneurs are like just mired in the business that they don't have the fresh set of eyes. So that those suggestions you might be giving them might be very common, but it's just a fresh set of eyes giving them an action plan that is very valuable. This is how I'm seeing this. Is this how your customers are seeing it too?
So the majority of our customers are multi-unit retail and
Mm.
bookkeepers. Those are our two big client bases right now,
Hmm.
multi-unit retail and bookkeepers. We had one multi-unit retail brand that signed up, and I'll never forget this. They were one of our first customers, and they signed up, they connected their QuickBooks Online account, and they said they lost $50,000 last month. I mean, they're doing $1 million per month in revenue, and they lost $50,000 last month. And I remember calling my CTO, I remember calling Suresh and being like, Suresh, like, something's wrong with the data. There's no way they did $1 million in revenue and lost $50,000. He's like, Jordan, I thought the same thing. We checked the data. So I get on the phone and I call him like, hey, Paul, like, what's going on? Is this correct? And to Mandy's point, his answer was, I honestly don't know if it's correct or not. I'd have to look
Mhm.
into it. So
Yeah.
before you can think about lowering your costs, you need to understand them.
Yeah.
And as a QuickBooks partner, as a QuickBooks user, it's great, but it's not simple. It's really hard to understand your costs in QuickBooks. It's hard to run reports. I consider myself pretty tech savvy, and I find it difficult. So we're trying to make it so blatantly obvious when something goes well and when something doesn't go well that you can't do anything but take action on it.
Mhm. What do you say to those, multi-unit operators out there, or just any potential customer that just says, I'm overwhelmed. I don't have time for another widget. I don't have time for another platform. I don't have time to manage another vendor. And they may not see
Yeah.
the value initially. Like, why should they care about Starfish, or why should they care more about, the efficiencies that you provide?
first thing I'll say is like, we hear that every single day,
Mm.
right? Like, I'm not going to paint this rosy picture. We hear every single day, oh, I don't have time for another application. I don't want my GMs logging into another tool. I want them spending time with the guests and their team. I agree with that. One of the things that we're trying really hard to build here at Starfish, and this sounds a little bit counterintuitive, so I'll explain, is a software application that only works if you never log into it. So our responsibility is to build a tool that's powerful enough that you can log in and dig into data if you want, but simple enough that we proactively email you and text you notifications. So you don't have to spend any time if you don't want to. That's where we look at it. Now, does it take an hour to set up? Yes. But most software takes a week or two to set up. We take an hour. So yes, like any software, there's a little bit of upfront time, but we're really trying to build a tool that works well where you never log into the platform. Because I think in today's day and age, especially with AI, the less you have to have, the less someone manually does, the bigger impact you can make and the better adoption you'll see.
Now, you said that bookkeepers is one of your top clients. I find that very interesting because I would think that they would look at you as if a competitor. How does that work, and how did that happen?
Yeah, Amani, I thought the same thing was going to happen. So we started out working with multi-unit retail, and then we just kept hearing the same thing over and over again, like, talk to my bookkeeper, talk to my bookkeeper. And I pushed it off for a couple months because it's just like, no, like, we're replacing bookkeepers. Like, what are we talking about here? And it became really obvious once I actually started listening instead of talking and thinking that we are a bookkeeper's best friend. Because what a bookkeeper doesn't want to do is manually look for errors to make sure the books are closed. What the bookkeeper doesn't want to do is go through that 25-page report and distill it into 3 bullet points of what's actually important. But that's what we excel at. What we're really bad at is putting a P&L together. What we're really bad at is chasing a client for invoices to update something or making sure that a balance sheet is credits and debits are equaling each other. That's not what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to take all of this raw data and then show you how to improve your client's business. And what we found is that not only can we save bookkeepers time, but bookkeepers are actually leveraging Starfish to upsell their clients. When I was running my business, all my bookkeeper did was send me a P&L once a quarter. That's it. But now bookkeepers are getting asked by their small businesses to build budgets. Can you help me forecast? Am I scheduling correctly? What software should I use? They're really moving from bookkeepers to fractional CFOs. And we can help them spend less time manually analyzing data, manually double checking things, and more time on the things they want to do, which is conversations like this, interacting with clients.
Interesting. So when you look at growth for yourself and your company, what is on the horizon potentially for Starfish? And then how do you coach your clients in terms of growth also?
Personally and business-wise, we're wholly focused on how do we work with more bookkeepers, more multi-unit retail. We're really doubling down on that. We believe that if we can build a tool that's good enough for these two, we can build a tool for everyone. So for bookkeepers, that means full financial analysis, P&L, balance sheet, cash flow, all of that. Then number 2, for multi-unit retail, right now we just integrate into accounting systems, but we need to start integrating into POS, inventory, labor, all of the tech stack for that multi-unit retail. So those are the 2 ways that we kind of see ourselves growing. Long term, we'll be able to do budgeting, professional services, group purchasing, all of that, right? But short term, blinders on, better financial analysis, more integrations, more data analysis. That's where we see ourselves. On the how do we help clients, we have to do a better job of this. And I don't just mean like client success, but bookkeepers specifically, and I think this goes for multi-unit retail also, are extremely reactive in nature. We need to do a better job of educating them on how to be proactive. So instead of like today's December 2nd, the majority of clients will close a month between the 15th and 20th. So let's just say they close on the 15th. That means on the 16th, they start analyzing November data. But December's half over.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
too late. It's too late.
We need to do a better job because right now we are simply supporting them. So if they say they want it on the 16th, we get them everything on the 16th. We're supporting them. We need to do a better job at supporting bookkeepers, multi-unit retail, everyone on being more proactive, because the more proactive you can be, the bigger an impact you can make.
And starting that process sooner. Yeah. You talk a lot about AI, and I know, people are out there that aren't using AI and they're missing the boat. People are out there that are using AI and maybe not using it to its maximum potential. So when you are talking with people about using AI, how do you disarm the notion of AI when talking to customers? How do you disarm the nervousness of it, or how do you convince them to do it when they may be a little scared of it?
Yeah. First thing I'm gonna say is like the AI is not perfect. It's not taking over the world anytime soon. I can't get it to read a P&L without a bunch of code on top of it, right?
Mhm.
So I wouldn't worry about that. I got my wife hooked on ChatGPT
Mhm.
by having her start using it on the personal side.
Mm.
So I have a 2-year-old daughter. A year ago, she started growing teeth. So we needed a toothbrush. We did all of this research on different toothbrushes. And anyone that's gone down that Google rabbit hole, doesn't have to be about toothbrush, it can be about anything. It basically leads you to nowhere. It basically
Yeah.
leads you to whoever
Mhm.
spends the most on
Yeah,
advertising. That's it.
exactly. Exactly.
So after like an hour of us like half watching Netflix and looking things up, I'm just like, let's just ask ChatGPT. And this was multiple versions of ChatGPT ago. And instead of like all these blue link tabs across my Chrome browser, it just gave us a really simple summary. This is the toothbrush and this is why. And that was it. And then she started using it for Excel because I hate when I can't figure out an Excel formula. And I always forget the Excel formula. So she just started using ChatGPT to ask questions about it. So, Mandy, my answer is really simple. Don't think about how can I use ChatGPT for business. Think about how can I use AI for my personal life.
Mm.
And that's a great way to start because it does not have to be this big, scary thing. You can start simple. And there's so many different things. ChatGPT is what everyone uses. For Starfish, we don't use ChatGPT at all. We use Claude for everything.
I do too. I love Claude.
So much better.
I'm a new it's so much better. It's so much cleaner.
Yeah,
And I feel like I get to the answers probably 3 or 4 prompts sooner too. Has that been
so much
your
stronger.
experience? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what I would say is like the AI is scary. I get it. It's a new technology. Make it not scary though. And the best way I found to do that is just like have fun with it. Like it is December 2nd we're recording this. Everyone needs holiday gifts. Literally go on ChatGPT, go on Claude, list out the people you need to buy gifts for and 1 or 2 facts about them and ask what to buy. It will give you such a better recommendation than spending hours on Google searching for things.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome.
That's
Great
good.
suggestion.
Wow. So we've come to the point in the show where it's time for us to kind of flip the script and allow you to ask both myself and Mandy a question. Any question you'd like. Nothing is off limits. So who do you want to ask a question to first? And what is said question?
All right. I listen to the podcast and I feel like Mandy goes first every time. So I'm going to go to Amani with the first
Okay.
question.
Oh,
Okay.
good. Jordan, like
Um,
that.
all right, Amani,
Yeah.
you're an amazing storyteller. I'm trying to become better at storytelling. What is your number one tip for someone to be a better storyteller?
Number one tip, well, I'll give you one and one B. So number one A, one B. Number one tip would be to just start to create a story journal. Write down all the stories that you think that you've experienced in your life that would be interesting to other people. Just write, a quick summary of them all. Just start keeping a journal, and then go back to it as you remember more. And then number two, one B would be to watch videos of like really good storytellers, like some of the best like TED Talks where they give to talk about stories, or the moth competition where they have to tell stories in the
Mm.
moth competition. I would start with that. Watch some of those stories and just watch and see and just watch and just start to consume those in your free time.
I love that. Follow-up question. Physical journal or digital journal?
I think digital is a little bit easier because if you have your phone with you and you're somewhere where you don't have your notebook with you, I'm a fan of digital. But if you use a physical notebook, then just transfer it to your digital one. I think digital it allows it to be more accessible, more places. Because when you remember the stories, you want to write them down because you could forget later.
Okay, love it. Thank you.
Yes.
Good
All right, Mandy,
question.
your
Yes.
turn. I am a startup entrepreneur. Money is always going to be tight. You go to a lot of conferences. How do I, as an entrepreneur, decide which conferences are worthwhile and which are not? Because they're all expensive, they're all time consuming, and there's a lot of them.
That is an awesome question, and it's a real question. It's something that entrepreneurs think about all the time. So, a couple things so first of all, forget about the cost and just determine which conference you want to be at, right? I like asking my vendors. Like ask your vendors where are they? Because your vendors are where your competitors are
Hmm.
and your competitors are where your customers are, right? So, I would ask your vendors first. Um, I also would look at the education piece. Conferences that just spend time on exhibiting and just talking at you aren't as valuable as the ones that actually put the energy into the education. When people build out content and education, even if it's just for a day, you're going to get so much more value out of it. Okay, so that's the second thing. The third thing about that is when you have more content and education, as an entrepreneur, you have a greater opportunity to be a panelist
Hmm.
where you could talk about your product or your service. You gain physical visibility in that marketplace, and you can sit next to somebody that's looking to learn about the same thing you're willing to learn it, so you have more networking opportunities. So a couple ways to go to conferences for free are offer to speak for free, and then in exchange you get registration. You have to pay for your travel. Some will comp your room, your sleeping rooms. Um, Offer to do something like this, like what Amani and I do. Offer to do a LinkedIn live leading up to it for, to promote the conference. Like, think about what you do as a business. I can tell you this: every single conference is most of the time over budget. You could probably offer a service to an association that puts on a conference or a tech company and say, in exchange, I need 3 passes to the conference.
Mhm.
If you can show them immediate value, you could probably get some comp registration. It's
Hmm.
not hard to get comp registration. The other costs are the flights and the
Yeah.
sleeping rooms and the entertainment while you're there. But I would offer to speak, be on a panel, give a little bit of your service and get something in exchange. And then the thing, and Amani and I talk about this all the time, it's the mindset surrounding a conference. Is yes, it's expensive, but there's so much value in it. So the mindset of you're going to put money in, you're going to get money out, and if you invest the money to go, which I think you should go to at least 2 conferences a year.
Yeah.
Try and go regional, try and go in your backyard, try and make it a drive market. Like your first couple conferences, they don't have to be in London, they don't have to be in Australia. Find something in Florida where you're at or wherever most of the Starfish people are, and find a way to make it less expensive for you and invest the money because you will get it out. I know it's so hard to invest the money, but get it out. Also ask customers, ask people to sponsor you. I personally am really big on, I've been at this 26 years or so. So the last 2 or 3 years, I've been talking to startups. I've been talking to people newer to the industry or people that have changed industries, and I've been sponsoring them. I'm paying for their conference registration because first of all, I know I'm gonna retire and they're gonna be my boss someday, probably, or maybe they might buy my business someday. I don't know, but I also think it's building the bench of the industry, is
Yeah.
investing back. So obviously, Starfish may not be there now, but once you get that party rolling, take an opportunity to invest
Hmm.
in another startup like you.
Yeah.
and help them build their bench. But yeah, I mean, I could probably go on and on about that all day, but I would really focus on the ones that have the content, not like it doesn't have to be the one with the best possible speaker. It doesn't always have to be, the one with Ted Lasso,
The
it
biggest
doesn't
one.
take,
Yeah.
yeah, but like those regional ones and like where you see it's like panel and conference, content after content after content. That's a lot of bang for your buck there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Great
you ever
answer.
have a conference agenda you're wondering about and you want to send it to me, I can probably scan that and like tell you if it's worth going to in like 3 seconds flat. So just
Amazing.
send it to me. I'm happy to look at it for
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. No problem. No problem. Great
So I want
question.
to, great questions, all four of them. I want to take you back to Ann Arbor as you're about to graduate. We're going to sit down at the like a local coffee shop there in Ann Arbor, but you're going to give yourself the Jordan of back then advice based on what the Jordan knows now. What advice would you give your younger self?
Really find something that you like every day. I heard you guys talking about like the long weekend, the Monday, and I worked all weekend and I came in Monday like super energized,
Aw.
raring to go. Um, so what I would tell myself is just like find work that you actually enjoy waking up for and going every day because I've had jobs where that was not the case. And
Mhm.
is that the case every day at Starfish? Absolutely not. But most days it is. So I would go back and I would tell myself, find something that the majority of the time you can wake up and be super excited to tackle the problem for.
Brilliant.
Ew,
Love
that's
it. Simple and
good.
effective. Over to you, Manny, to close us out.
Well, so I have two final questions. One is you've been quoted saying, take the cold calls. So, and I agree with this too, but I'm curious if we're aligned on the philosophy as to why. So, why do you tell small business owners to take the cold calls?
I try to take every single cold call I can because it's the best way for me to learn about new things. It does not mean I'm buying every single service. I'd be literally broke if I bought every service for people that
Mhm.
cold called me. But I believe that as an entrepreneur, I need to learn and grow. And for me, one of the best ways to learn and grow is to not spend time looking for solutions, but to let solutions come to me. And I let cold calls do that.
That's awesome. I love that. I also look at cold calls as an opportunity to sell somebody some like whenever I'll if somebody it's so hard, right? You've cold called since your toilet company
I still do
back
every
in
day.
2010.
I
I
still do
still
every
do.
day.
Yeah. So if somebody can do a good job at compelling me to want to respond to an email or want to respond to a text or a phone call, I wanna give them that time as a reward. I wanna
Yeah.
learn how they're selling. I wanna learn about that product, but that also might be an opportunity for them to learn about my business or some of my clients' businesses too. So that's the first time I've heard somebody say, "Take the cold calls," and I really appreciated that. I thought that was really
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff.
What was your
Okay,
second
next.
question?
Oh, second question is how can we I mean, I was gonna say, how can we support you? I have notes like introduce Jordan to my bookkeeper. Um, she's dialed
Love it.
in.
That's great.
She's got a whole bookkeeper network. So I'll
Yes.
introduce you to Corey. But how can we support you? How can we lift you up? You've just given us an hour of your time. How can we best support you?
Yeah. So I think number one, intros, clients. We all know that's what drives business at the end of the day, right? So
Mhm.
if you're the two of you, for everyone watching, if you know bookkeepers, if you know multi-unit retail that's going to be interested, that's great. Um, Second thing I would say is just like spread the general word on Starfish, even if it's not for something immediate. Even if they don't sign up for Starfish, what we really care about is less about Starfish and more about can we actually help people be more profitable? The
Mm,
number one reason small businesses close, 82% of small business failure is cash flow issues.
Mhm.
Not revenue, not it's just cash flow. And like it doesn't need to be. And whether that's with us, another system, just manually doing it in Excel, doesn't really matter. You can be more profitable if you actually want to be.
good stuff. It's great
Well
stuff.
said. Awesome.
Mhm.
Well, we thank you for your time and the advice and the wisdom you shared with us, and we look forward to applying some of the lessons learned and the strategies that you share with us, and just continue to do great things with Starfish. We really appreciate you being with us today.
Absolutely. Mandi, Amani, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks
Also,
for
we're gonna
being here,
put you-
Jordan.
We'll put you in the green room, so hold on for a minute. Round of applause for Jordan there. Excellent work there. Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.